Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India NewsHour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour. India signs a trade deal with the UK. Prime Minister Modi calls it a milestone in bilateral ties. The British Prime Minister hails it as the most significant deal since the UK's exit from the EU. India and the UK launch a Vision 2035 document for a stronger partnership in technology, defence, climate, education and people-to-people ties. Passenger plane crashes in Russia's Far East. Nearly 50 people on board feared dead. And border tensions flare as Thailand and Cambodia exchange fire. At least 11 Thai civilians and 1 soldier killed. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is on a 2-day visit to the UK, met with his British counterpart Keir Starmer in the UK. Both leaders reviewed the India-UK Comprehensive Strategic Partnership with a renewed focus under the India-UK Vision 2035. Discussions also focused on the landmark Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, or CETA, Technology, Security Initiative, Defence and Security, Energy and Climate, Education and people-to-people ties. They also discussed regional and global issues of mutual interest. The Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement reflects massively improve market access and boost bilateral trade. The trade agreement was signed by India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal and Secretary of State for Business and Trade Jonathan Reynolds of the UK. The agreement was signed in the presence of Prime Ministers Modi and Starmer. Prime Minister Modi attended a joint press meeting with his British counterpart Keir Starmer. Addressing the joint press statement, PM Modi said that it is a historic moment for both nations. He added that after many years of hard work, the Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement between the two countries has been concluded. He also highlighted the benefits that FTA deal will yield for both countries.
यह समझौता मात्र आर्थिक साझेदारी नहीं, बल्कि साझा समृद्धि की योजना है। एक और भारतीय टेक्सटाइल, फुटवियर, जेम्स एंड ज्वेलरी, सी फूड और इंजीनियरिंग गुड्स को यूके में बेहतर मार्केट एक्सेस मिलेगा। भारत के एग्रीकल्चर प्रोड्यूस और प्रोसेस्ड फूड इंडस्ट्री के लिए यूके की मार्केट में नए अवसर बनेंगे। भारत के युवाओं, किसानों, मछुआरों और एमएसएमई सेक्टर के लिए यह समझौता विशेष रूप से लाभकारी सिद्ध होगा। वहीं दूसरी ओर भारत के लोगों और इंडस्ट्री के लिए यूके में बने प्रोडक्ट्स जैसे मेडिकल डिवाइसेस और एरोस्पेस पार्ट सुलभ और किफायती दरों पर उपलब्ध हो सकेंगे।
PM Modi also highlighted the benefits of double contribution convention that was also agreed with the FTA deal. He said the trade deal will significantly boost the employment opportunities in both countries.
इस समझौते के साथ ही डबल कंट्रीब्यूशन कन्वेंशन पर भी सहमति बनी है। इससे दोनों के सर्विस सेक्टर, विशेषकर टेक्नोलॉजी और फाइनेंस के उसको एक नई ऊर्जा मिलेगी। ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस को गति मिलेगी, कॉस्ट ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस घटेगा और कॉन्फिडेंस ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस बढ़ेगा। साथ ही यूके की अर्थव्यवस्था को भारतीय स्किल टैलेंट मिलेगा। इन समझौतों से दोनों देशों में निवेश बढ़ेगा और रोजगार के नए अवसर बनेंगे। इतना ही नहीं, दो लोकतांत्रिक देशों और विश्व की दो बड़ी इकोनॉमीज के बीच हुए यह समझौते वैश्विक स्थिरता और समृद्धि को भी बल देंगे।
PM Modi also added that India and the UK have continued to share views on peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific, the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and the situation in West Asia. He also thanked the UK Prime Minister for strongly condemning the Pahalgam terror attack.
पहलगाम में हुए आतंकवादी हमले की कठोर निंदा के लिए हम प्रधानमंत्री स्टारमर और उनकी सरकार का आभार व्यक्त करते हैं। हम एक मत हैं कि आतंकवाद के खिलाफ लड़ाई में दोहरे मापदंडों का कोई स्थान नहीं है। हम इस बात पर भी सहमत हैं कि एक्सट्रीमिस्ट विचारधारा वाली शक्तियों को डेमोक्रेटिक फ्रीडम का दुरुपयोग नहीं करने दिया जा सकता। Those who misuse democratic freedoms to undermine democracy itself must be held account. इकोनॉमिक ऑफेंडर्स के प्रत्यार्पण के विषय पर भी हमारी एजेंसी सहयोग और समन्वय से काम करती रहेगी।
Referring to cricket, the Prime Minister stressed that India and the UK are now giving new momentum to comprehensive strategic partnership in the coming decade. He said that with the launch of Vision 2035, India and the UK will form the basis of a strong, ambitious partnership in varied fields.
जब भारत और यूके मिले और वह भी टेस्ट सीरीज के दौरान, तो क्रिकेट का उल्लेख तो करना ही पड़ता है। फॉर बोथ ऑफ अस, cricket is not just a game, but a passion, and also a great metaphor for our partnership. There may be a swing and a miss at times, but we always play with a straight bat. We are committed to building high-scoring सॉलिड पार्टनरशिप। आज संपन्न हुए समझौते और विजन 2035 इसी स्पिरिट को आगे बढ़ाने वाले माइलस्टोन है।
And after the signing of the deal, the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said that the deal will bring huge benefits to both countries, boosting wages, raising living standards, and putting more money in the pockets of the working people.
It's a deal that will bring huge benefits to both of our countries, boosting wages, raising living standards, and putting more money in the pockets of working people. It is good for jobs, it is good for business, cutting tariffs and making trade cheaper, quicker and easier.
The British Prime Minister says that the FTA deal with India is the biggest, most economically significant trade deal that the UK has made since leaving the European Union.
This is the biggest and most economically significant trade deal that the UK has made since leaving the EU. Thank you, Prime Minister, for your leadership and for your pragmatism. And I'd like to thank everybody who's worked so hard to get this deal over the line.
Starmer went on to say that the trade deal will provide long-term benefits, with £4.8 billion being added to the UK economy every year.
It is good for consumers because it will bring down prices on Indian goods in the United Kingdom, like clothes and shoes and food, and it will deliver benefits for the long term It will add about £4.8 billion to the UK economy every year and £2.2 billion to wages and hundreds of millions of pounds to regions and nations up and down the United Kingdom.
And Prime Minister Modi, along with his British counterpart Keir Starmer, visited an exhibition where products were displayed by Indian businesses based in the UK. English Premier League trophy also was on display in the exhibition. During the visit, the Prime Minister also met players of Buckinghamshire street cricket hubs. Street cricket hubs in the UK offer accessible and inclusive cricket programs, particularly for young people. And my colleague Gautam Roy joins us with the latest. Gautam, tell us more about the FTA. What's in it for the consumers or end users of both countries? How do they stand to benefit from it?
Well, tremendously, in one word, Ramesh, because what will happen is a lot of, in fact, all Indian goods that are really imported in terms of value to the UK are going to come in at zero tariff. So the prices of those goods will come down. They'll become more competitive with similar imports that the UK has from other countries. So they will have better access to the UK market, and India, I think, exports to the UK to the tune of almost 20 billion UK pounds. So this can be expected to go up, and the same goes for the UK as well. Their goods will have a much better access. They will become cheaper, perhaps, although that depends on how certain levies are, put by different authorities in India as well. In the case of, say, alcohol, if the duty on, say, Scotch goes down from 150% to 75% from the time that this pact comes into effect, we'll have to wait and see if it's passed on completely by state governments that levy excise on all alcohol as well. So it should be passed on to a large extent. Let's hope that. And prices of a lot of things will come down in both the countries.
Indeed. And Gautam, the Prime Minister spoke about the Pahalgam terror attack. He said there is no room for double standards on terrorism. In the same way, he said that India and the UK agree that extremist forces cannot be allowed to abuse democratic freedoms. Why don't you put his remarks in their proper context for our viewers?
Well, yes, certainly. I mean, India and UK have shared history where the scourge of terrorism has plagued both the countries as well. Even together, we've had victims of terrorism that have met a very, very dark fate. But that is how we recognize this issue and speak in one voice on it. And when the PM says double standards should not be tolerated and will not be tolerated, that is very clear that it is in support of the kind of action that India took after the Pahalgam terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir, where we launched Operation Sindhu. So the UK has stood by in condemning the Pahalgam terror attack to the maximum. So in a way, that means that UK also supports the kind of action that India took. And the same goes for those who misuse the freedom of speech and democracy here in the UK to hold protests, they say, but they then denigrate into defacement of public property, defacement of Indian assets here in the UK in terms of attacks in consulates and high commissions. We've seen that happening in the past. We've seen visits of dignitaries, Indian dignitaries to the UK being disrupted as well, although that has not happened this time around because a complete wrap was kept on the kind of places that the Prime Minister will be visiting as part of his this two-day visit to the UK this time around, including his place of stay, which is in the outskirts of London. But we've always maintained that it is London, indeed, that Prime Minister Modi is visiting. So that's the kind of situation that has been there, and that has been equally condemned by the UK and by India.
Also, Gautam, India and the UK have agreed on a Vision 2035 document. What can you tell us about the document? Well,
this document, of course, is an extension of the Vision 2030 document as well. And India and the UK are on a common page where a lot of issues, challenges the world faces, as well as the kind of opportunities that are presented in this sort of situation are concerned. So they intend to increase cooperation in a number of areas, be it in security of, ensuring that the Indo-Pacific is open, free and fair and has access for everyone. That is a vital part of that, the issue of terrorism as well. But by and large, apart from expanding trade and investment is a large focus, supply chains is a major focus. There is, of course, huge cooperation going on the fronts of technology as well as the development of critical minerals. There's an initiative that began just last year. It's just had its anniversary. It's something that is paving the way for a lot of collaboration between not just the governments, but the private sectors as well. So the vision statement reflects that too. And in the essence of bringing people more and more closer as well, there are elements of that in it too. And even this particular CETA that we have is paving the way for a lot of people to come and work, study in the UK. Education is a major front. Another one is health. We've seen India and the UK come together and come up with the Covishield vaccine in the COVID times, and that went around all over the world, earning credit for India to a large extent. But the UK, of course, was involved in the research in developing that vaccine. So it's a joint effort. Again, where renewable energy is concerned, UK has a tremendous interest in the kind of efforts that India is making to ensure that it meets its climate commitments, and there are lots of investments possible in that sphere as well. That may figure perhaps as a side step for Prime Minister Modi as well. He might visit a place where there are certain solar panels. That's what we've been told, but for now I'm waiting for confirmation on that front. So all these areas, the multifaceted ties that India and the UK has been covered by the UK, this vision document and taken forward, and a vision of future cooperation has also been put across over there.
Indeed, and talking about multifaceted relationship, Gautam, people-to-people ties is one of the pillars of the India-UK relationship as well. What can you tell us about the Indian diaspora in the UK and how they help grow the bilateral ties?
Oh, it's really tough to say to what extent have they added to the kind of ties that India and UK have, the kind of position that UK has as the 6th largest economy in the world. It used to be the 5th largest. India overtook it and now is the 4th largest, pretty soon to be 3rd largest. And the 1.8 million, that's the conservative figure. Other estimates put it at 2 million, contributing tremendously to the growth of the UK economy. They are among the highest earning on an average in terms of different ethnicities and people of different origin, diaspora terms in the UK. And they contribute in every field, be it education, health, industry, small stores, motels, hotels, everything, in every sphere, the Indian diaspora has contributed. And now, of course, there is that opportunity of those who have made the money in the UK to come and invest it in India as well. And I spoke just yesterday to the Arora Group's founder and chairman, Surinder Arora. He said that, and this is a company that's worth billions. This is a company that was set up by a person who came to the UK when he was 13, and one of his jobs was a loader at Heathrow Airport, and now he has a conglomerate which has no stake right now in India, zero investments in India. He's saying, now I'm looking to invest in India pronto.
And finally, Gautam, we've discussed about commerce, we've discussed about cricket. There's also chicken tikka masala that brings the two countries and their peoples together. Now, having spent the last few days in the UK, Gautam, tell us give us a sense of where the two countries might go from here in terms of their future trajectory, and also your impressions about the country, the last several days that you've been there.
Well, this is a very vibrant country. It's a multicultural country. I mean, look at London. It's a global city, one of the best cities in the world to visit, one of the most visited cities in the world as well. It's a showcase for the kind of country the UK is. It's got a beautiful countryside. It's got a lot to offer to India as well. I mean, the salmon that comes out of the waters around the islands in Scotland. There are some offshore islands as well. That's celebrated across the world. It's well known. Indian shrimp is well known. Indian mango pulp. Look at the kind of thing. Tea, coffee from India. The duties will go down to zero on those. And look at the kind of interaction that we'll have. The Indian diaspora has already been an ambassador of Indian products here. with their restaurants, with their cultural presentations. We saw some of that happening when Prime Minister Modi reached his place of stay here on the outskirts of London as well yesterday in the evening. And all that will get magnified manyfold, hopefully, with the kind of things that are, in the pipeline. Not just the CETA, this free trade agreement, but so many other things that are at play right now.
All right, we leave it at there. Gautam, thank you for the updates. Appreciate it. That was my colleague Gautam Roy reporting there on the Prime Minister's ongoing visit to the UK. And staying with the story, the industry has lauded the signing of the India-UK FTA. Speaking to DD India, Chairman Vedanta Group Anil Agarwal said this is a great achievement between the UK and India as they walk down the progressive path. He further added that the deal will boost economic activity and create many more jobs.
Signing FTA is a great achievement between Britain and India. A lot of hard work has gone. I congratulate Prime Minister Stammer and our Prime Minister Modi and his team to achieve this milestone. It was not an easy job. Both countries has worked very hard. This will help both the country to increase the trade at least by $20 billion. Phenomenal job opportunity will come for both the country. India has a huge potential for back office, data center, development. UK will be the best partner for them, and this FTA will help both the countries. Thank you.
The Confederation of Indian Industry, or CII, has also welcomed the signing of the India-UK Free Trade Agreement as a transformational milestone in bilateral economic relations. The founder and chairperson of Bharati Enterprises and co-chair of the India-UK CEOs Forum, Sunil Bharati Mittal, said, and I quote him here, "Indian industry across all sectors welcomes the India-UK FTA with great optimism. This agreement establishes a modern, forward-looking partnership that will stimulate innovation, ease market access, and foster investment. Businesses as in India as well as in the UK stand to gain tremendously as it lays the groundwork for scaling up bilateral cooperation across key growth sectors," unquote. The Director General of the CII, Chandrajit Banerjee, in turn said, CII has been a long-standing advocate for a comprehensive and forward-looking India-UK Free Trade Agreement. This FTA marks a defining moment in our bilateral relationship, reflecting a shared commitment to inclusive growth, economic resilience, and industrial transformation. It creates a strong foundation for deeper market access, regulatory cooperation, and next-generation partnerships between Indian and UK businesses. Still to come on DD India NewsHour. The US and EU officials signaled progress in tariff talks. India reiterates call for a Gaza ceasefire and release of all remaining hostages. And India gets one step closer to realizing its first crewed deep ocean exploration.
One of India's newest states, one of India's oldest lands, Jharkhand is a hidden treasure house of many wonders, from quaint towns to prehistoric rock art. From thrilling adventure sports to historical heritage sites. Discover your spiritual awakening among revered ancient temples.
The month of Shravan in the monsoons is dedicated to Lord Shiv, and that is when the temple gets its maximum footfall. Johar. Johar.
Feed your body and soul with Jharkhand's incredible spread of cuisines.
बहुत tasty लगा.
Come and explore Jharkhand for an experience like never before. Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A devastating plane crash occurred in Russia's Far East on Thursday, involving an Antonov AN-24 aircraft operated by Angara Airlines. The plane was carrying 49 people, and as initial information suggests, everyone on board was feared dead. The burning fuselage of the plane, which was from the Soviet era and was nearly 50 years old, was spotted on the ground by a helicopter, and rescue crews were rushing to the scene. The helicopter saw no evidence of survivors from above. The plane was on a domestic flight from Blagoveshchensk to Tienda and dropped off radar screens while approaching Tienda, a remote town in the Amur region bordering China. Authorities have launched an investigation into the crash. The United States and European officials signaled progress in tariff talks Wednesday after U.S. President Donald Trump announced a pact with Japan and China, said its vice premier would attend bilateral negotiations next week. In an attempt to slash his country's trade deficits, Trump has vowed to hit dozens of countries with punitive tariff hikes if they do not hammer out a pact with Washington, D.C. by the 1st of August. Trump said that the United States was in the process of completing a trade deal with China and would be setting straight tariffs for most of the rest of the world.
We're in the process of completing our deal with China. And as you know, the UK, we made a deal. It was a very good deal for everybody. But mostly we'll be charging straight tariffs to most of the rest of the world because we have over 200 countries. And we're making deals with various Asian countries that need it. And it's actually hard to believe, you don't think of it, but Asia is very close to Alaska, relatively speaking. It's not the closest, but it is pretty much the closest when it comes to oil and gas and energy, and we're making some incredible deals.
Now, Washington, D.C. has announced only a few deals with countries around the world, including China, Britain, Vietnam, and Indonesia. Negotiations remain ongoing with major U.S. trading partners, China, Canada, Mexico, and the European Union. Several EU diplomats have said that the bloc was examining a U.S. proposal involving a 15% tariff and sectoral carve-outs still to be decided. EU Trade Chief Marcos Sefcovic was expected to speak with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick on Wednesday. Separately, representatives from China and the U.S. will meet next week in Sweden's capital Stockholm to further negotiations before an August 12 deadline agreed upon in the month of May. And for more details on the EU-US trade deal, we're joined by DW's Emily Leshner from Berlin. Emily, where do the negotiations currently stand?
At the moment, it appears that a deal is likely to go through. The deal would mean that the majority of exported EU goods coming into the United States would be hit with a baseline 15% tariffs. And this includes automobiles, which at the moment are currently being taxed with a 25% levy. So certain goods would go down to this 15% baseline levy. But some goods would still see very high tariffs. These are goods like steel and aluminum, and they could be hit with tariffs as high as 50% if they're imported into the U.S. Over a certain quota. But EU officials are optimistic that a deal can be reached. That includes German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and French President Emmanuel Macron, who met in Berlin yesterday and reportedly spoke to one another about how close the EU was in securing an agreement. And even U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told Bloomberg Television that he thought the Trump administration was making good progress with the EU. So there's a sense of confidence and of hope, in part because the EU has slightly shifted negotiation tactics, and also because the EU has reached a number of deals with other countries in recent weeks. But EU officials are hopeful, but still cautious because they've been here before with President Trump.
Right. It seemed officials were close to securing an agreement a few weeks ago, and then it fell through. What's different this time.
Yes, that's right. Officials were nearing an agreement 2 weeks ago, but the negotiations stalled after Trump threatened Brussels with another 30% tariff on most goods if both sides failed to reach an agreement by the deadline we're now approaching. So that's one difference. And 30% tariffs is something that the EU definitely wants to avoid, and economically speaking, can't really afford not to avoid. So that's one difference, that the U.S. has secured deals with the U.K., with Japan, most recently with the Philippines and Indonesia. And while many are saying that the deal with Japan looks similar to what the deal could look like with the U.S., there are some differences. The Trump administration offered Japan a baseline 15% tariff deal only after Japan promised to invest $550 billion in the U.S., and that's through its acquisition of U.S. Steel. They also had a financing agreement with the Trump administration. So while people might be viewing the Japan-U.S. deal as an indicator that the U.S. will reach an agreement with the EU, the circumstances are slightly different. Finally, another difference is that the markets are doing well when the U.S. locks in another trade deal. That could be a motivation for Trump to get this EU-U.S. trade deal through as well.
And what happens if a deal can't be reached?
Well, Trump is likely to make good on his threat of raising tariffs across the board to 30%. And in retaliation, the EU is threatening countermeasure tariffs. You know, they seem unafraid to escalate the trade war at this point, saying they'll hit back with the same 30% tariffs. And this would amount to a tariff package of more than 90 billion euros worth of U.S. goods like Boeing aircraft, cars, and Kentucky whiskey bourbon. And officials in the EU are also discussing restricting the access that U.S. companies would have to European markets through what's called the anti-coercion instrument. This was kind of seen as a nuclear option, but it is being discussed now just in case. And what this would do would restrict access to public procurement, to licenses, intellectual property rights for services. It would make it very, very difficult, for example, for a digital or financial service provider to do business in the EU. Now, Trump hopes that these tariffs will bring back U.S. jobs that have gone overseas, that they'll revitalize the country's manufacturing sector. But experts are saying that the tariffs, are likely to raise prices for American consumers, that the uncertainty this trade war has evoked has made businesses very wary of hiring, of investing until things settle and until the markets aren't so mercurial. So the markets could be another reason why Trump wants to get this trade deal done.
Emily, thank you. Emily Lesher reporting there from Berlin. Right, moving on, the U.S. has announced the approval of a $322 million arms sales to bolster Ukraine's air defenses and its armored combat vehicles. The potential sales include $172 million for Hawk Phase 3 air defense systems, covering maintenance, trucks, spare parts, repairs, and training. Additionally, $150 million is allocated for Bradley infantry fighting vehicles, along with their repair and technical support. The announcement comes after Washington, D.C. temporarily halted some weapons shipments to Ukraine earlier this month, even as Kyiv faced heavy Russian missile and drone attacks. U.S. President Donald Trump then made an abrupt change in posture, pledging publicly earlier this month to continue to send weapons to Ukraine. At least 2 people were killed and 33 were injured in a Russian strike on eastern Ukraine on Thursday. The glide bomb struck a residential neighborhood in the Ukraine's northeastern city of Kharkiv. As per Donetsk regional prosecutor, the 2 deaths were in the city of Kostiantynivka, where 12 people were also wounded. Whereas in Kharkiv, a 10-year-old child and a month-old infant were among the injured. Condemning the attack, President Volodymyr Zelensky called the strike utterly senseless. In the U.S., Columbia University has reached a deal with U.S. President Donald Trump's government over federal funding. In a statement, the university said it will pay a $200 million fine over 3 years to settle allegations that it failed to do enough to stop the harassment of Jewish students on campus. The announcement came one day after the university disciplined dozens of students over pro-Palestinian protests on campus. In March this year, the Trump administration cancelled grants and contracts worth about $400 million for the Ivy League school because of what it described as anti-Semitic harassment on and near the school's New York City campus. Meanwhile, the White House has pushed back against reports that President Trump is among hundreds of people whose names appear in Justice Department documents relating to the late pedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein. A White House spokesperson said the claims were nothing more than a continuation of the fake news stories concocted by the Democrats and the liberal media. It comes as a U.S. judge denied the Justice Department's bid to unseal material relating to Epstein from court proceedings in the state of Florida. The Trump government has been under mounting pressure to release more information about the well-connected sex offender. While campaigning last year, Trump had promised to release the Epstein files. Wall Street Journal reported that Trump's name appeared with many others, including other high-profile figures, in files held by the Justice Department. In a statement delivered during the UN Security Council's quarterly open debate on the situation in West Asia, India said a ceasefire must be put in place and all hostages must be released. Speaking in the debate, India's permanent representative to the UN, Ambassador Parvataneni Harish, noted that dialogue and diplomacy remain the only viable paths to achieving these objectives. He emphasized that intermittent pauses in hostilities are not enough to address the scale of humanitarian challenges confronting the region's people.
Today's meeting takes place against the backdrop of a persisting humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Intermittent pauses in hostilities are not enough to address the scale of humanitarian challenges confronting the people who grapple daily with acute shortages of food and fuel, inadequate medical services, and lack of access to education. The way ahead is clear, and India has been consistent in this regard. The ongoing human suffering must not be allowed to continue. Humanitarian assistance needs to be facilitated in a safe, sustained, and timely manner. There is no substitute to peace. A ceasefire must be put in place. All hostages must be released. Dialogue and diplomacy remain the only viable paths to achieving these objectives. There are no other fixes or solutions. In conclusion, India underscores its readiness to contribute to efforts that are aimed at shaping a political horizon that restores hope for the Palestinians and achieving sustained peace in the Middle East.
India is one step closer to realizing its first crewed deep ocean exploration. Samudrayaan, which is part of the government's larger deep ocean mission, will send humans to a depth of 6 kilometers. It will undertake its journey in a spherical submersible vessel called Matsya 6000. On Wednesday, Indian Space Agency ISRO announced that it had completed a key weld for this capsule. This is the first time in India that such a thick titanium alloy sphere was welded. This was achieved after nearly 700 trials. This achievement is significant because it is India's first ever human-rated deep-sea weld on a titanium sphere using advanced space-grade technology. Thailand launched airstrikes on Cambodian military targets on Thursday as Cambodia fired rockets and artillery, killing at least 11 civilians in a dramatic escalation of a long-running border row between the two neighbors. The neighbors are locked in a bitter spat over an area known as the Emerald Triangle, where the borders of both countries and Laos meet and which is home to several ancient temples. Vowing to retaliate, Thai Foreign Ministry spokesperson Nikondesh Balankura said Cambodia's attack targeted a military base and civilian areas.
On the morning of 24th July 2025, heavy artillery was fired into the Thai military base and continued throughout the morning. The attacks also targeted Thai civilian areas, including a hospital, resulting in civilian casualties and fatalities. The Royal Thai government is prepared to intensify our self-defense measures if Cambodia persists in its armed aggression and violations upon Thailand's sovereignty in accordance with international law and principles.
Thai authorities also announced the closure of all border points with Cambodia. Rear Admiral Surasanth Kongsiri said Thailand escalated the security measures along the border from level 2, which only restricts the crossing borders of the people and the period of time that they can cross, to level 4, which involves the complete closure of all border checkpoints along the Thai-Cambodian border.
Since the situation has escalated, we felt obligated and compelled that the ad hoc center has to escalate the security measures along the border from level 2, which only restricts the crossing borders of the people and the time or the period of time that they can cross. Now we have escalated the measures to level 4, which involves the complete closure of all border checkpoints along the Thai-Cambodian border.
Meanwhile, another of Thailand's neighbors, Malaysia, has called on Thailand and Cambodia to stand down following deadly border clashes. Malaysia's Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim urged the two Southeast Asian neighbors to enter into negotiations. The conflict blazed on Thursday, with Cambodia firing rockets and artillery shells into Thailand and the Thai military scrambling F-16 jets to carry out airstrikes in Cambodia. China's President Xi Jinping called for deeper trust between China and the European Union in a turbulent world as top EU leaders met in Beijing for a high-stakes summit on Thursday. Despite the ceremonial tone meant to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the diplomatic relations, the meeting underscored growing tensions between the bloc and Beijing. EU representatives raised concerns over China's trade practices, citing fears that an influx of cheap, subsidized goods could flood European markets and hurt local communities.
Europe has always believed in the power of free trade to drive prosperity, and that competition has to be fair. We know that our trade relationship today needs more balance. Rebalancing is a necessity, and it is also in the interest of a stronger relationship between us.
For his part, President Xi positioned China as a stable and reliable global partner, implicitly contrasting it with the United States. EU leaders urged concrete steps to resolve the mounting challenges.
As long as we both firmly practice multilateralism, the trend towards a multipolar world will continue to strengthen. I am fully confident about this. This morning, President Xi Jinping held a meeting with the two presidents, where the two sides reached an important consensus about further deepening China-EU relations.
All right, now take a look at what else is making news around the world. Australia's Biodiversity Council has released 7 key recommendations to tackle South Australia's harmful algal bloom, comparing its impact to the Black Summer bushfires. Urging swift action, scientists warn of long-term ecological damage and widespread fish kills beyond state waters. At the Global Prosperity Summit 2025 in Hong Kong, experts debated the evolving role of AI in the workplace, while panelists agreed that workers who harness AI effectively could see boosts in productivity, wages, and overall business performances. They cautioned that risks remain. Developed by Melbourne-based startup Andromeda Robotics, Abby, a vibrant 3.6-foot humanoid robot, is transforming social care in Australia's aged care facilities. Designed to foster emotional connection, Abby sings, dances, chats in 90 languages, and even blows bubbles, bringing joy and companionship to the elderly residents. Tokyo was abuzz with the vibrant colors and sounds of India today as the Indian Embassy hosted an unprecedented cultural marathon called India, i.e. Bharat 2025, celebrating Amrit Kaal. It was none less than a cultural Mahakumbh, a nod to India's grandest pilgrimage. The 750-minute extravaganza showcased the rich tapestry of Indian arts and heritage in Japan. From classical dance forms such as Bharatanatyam, Odissi, Kathak, mesmerizing musical renditions to regional art forms, the Indian ambassador to Japan, His Excellency C.B. George, spoke passionately about the event's significance.
We see an India connection. I attribute it to two main reasons. One, the strength of our civilization and our diverse culture. India is one of the oldest, largest, and perhaps among the very few continuous major civilizations in the world. India, that is Bharat, is a nation of unity in diversity. This diversity is our strength. Every diverse culture in India flourishes. Every religion and region in India flourishes.
The event drew a large and enthusiastic crowd, including many Japanese participants who were eager to experience Indian culture firsthand.
So it was an amazing experience being a part of this culture exchange, and then the idea of having 24 hours all straight on a cultural performance. I think it was amazing. I'm so grateful to be part of it, and I much appreciate for the Vivekananda Cultural Center to hosting it.
Thank you for giving me such a wonderful opportunity for me. And Kathak is very beautiful art for me, and I really love it. And thank you for having me.
And now take a look at what else is making news in India. Delhi's Chief Minister Rekha Gupta on Thursday inaugurated 34 new Ayushman Arogya Mandirs at the Delhi Secretariat. Speaking at the event, the Chief Minister also announced setting up of 7 new super specialty hospitals in Delhi. She said that these initiatives aim to enhance secondary and super specialty services. Mazagon Dock Shipbuilders Limited and France's Naval Group have entered into an agreement to integrate indigenous energy system plugs developed by the DRDO into the Indian Navy's Kalvari-class submarines. These submarines, based on the French-designed Scorpene class, are being built by MDL in Mumbai under transfer of technology from the Naval Group. And still to come on DD India NewsHour. India celebrates the Income Tax Day.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. On 24th July, India celebrates Income Tax Day, not only to remember the country's taxation framework, but also to salute the honest taxpayers whose contributions drive the nation's growth. Take a closer look at its 166-year-old journey.
Today marks the historic day when, back in 1860, India's income tax law was implemented for the first time. Since then, the tradition of tax paying has not only fortified the nation's economy, but has also empowered every citizen to actively participate in nation building. On this occasion, the Income Tax Department has expressed its heartfelt gratitude to all taxpayers whose contributions have played a vital role in India's development. Income tax law was first introduced in 1860 by Sir James Wilson. A comprehensive act was passed in 1922 for a structured taxation system. 1924 saw the formal recognition of the Central Revenue Board. In 1946, recruitment of Group A revenue officers began. A new Income Tax Act was enacted in 1961 to streamline administration. Computerization began in 1981, followed by Bengaluru's Central Processing Unit in 2009. In 2021, a revamped e-filing portal was launched, allowing pre-filled return forms. Before computerization, filing returns meant standing in long queues. Now, with pre-filled information and annual information statements, filing has become faster and easier. The Income Tax Department is now actively incorporating the use of AI, and data analytics helps prevent tax evasion while ensuring peace of mind for honest taxpayers. The landscape of personal income tax, or PIT, in India has seen significant growth over recent years. In the financial year 2020-21, gross personal income tax stood at 5.75 lakh crore rupees. In 2021-22, gross PIT collections rose to 7.10 lakh crore rupees. By 2023-24, the personal income tax collections had surged to more than 12 lakh crore rupees. On this day, the Central Board of Direct Taxes remembers honest taxpayers for the role in national development. Central Board of Direct Taxes Chairman Ravi Agarwal further advised and urged the income taxpayers for the timely and accurate disclosure of tax and refund-related information. To further simplify tax compliance, a new Income Tax Act could roll out this year. This law aims to be more straightforward and shorter than the one from 1961, reflecting a modernized approach to taxation. As India observes Income Tax Day 2025, it is evident that the nation's tax administration has come a long way. The journey from a rudimentary tax system to a sophisticated technology-driven framework is a testament to the country's progress. Bureau Report, DD India.
The Center for Joint Warfare Studies, the Tri-Services think tank under headquarters Integrated Defence Staff, is organizing a two-day national seminar on India's maritime vision in New Delhi. The two-day seminar is aligned with the vision of a whole-of-nation approach, bringing together strategic, cultural and developmental stakeholders to explore India's evolving maritime narrative. The event reflects the synergy of defense, diplomacy, academia, industry and cultural institutions, a hallmark of comprehensive national power in the making. The seminar is designed to explore India's maritime journey from its ancient seafaring traditions and historical port networks to contemporary maritime challenges and opportunities in the Indo-Pacific. The seminar directly contributes to the national goal of achieving Viksit Bharat by 2047, as envisioned by Prime Minister Modi. India's aspiration to become a global maritime powerhouse by its centenary year of independence hinges on integrated thinking, sustained policy engagement, and civil-military academic collaboration. The United Nations highest court on Wednesday says that countries must address the urgent and existential threat of climate change by cooperating to curb emissions, as it delivered an opinion set to determine future environmental litigation. The International Court of Justice said failure by the countries to meet their climate obligations could, in specific cases, lead other states affected by climate change to litigate.
In the current context, because of the seriousness of the threat, posed by climate change, the standard of due diligence to be applied in preparing NDCs is stringent. This means that each party has to do its utmost to ensure that the NDCs it puts forward represent its highest possible ambition in order to realize the objectives of the agreement.
The opinion by the ICJ, also known as the World Court, was immediately welcomed by environmental groups. Legal experts said it was a victory for small island and low-lying states that had asked the court to clarify states' responsibilities. Vanuatu's climate change minister Ralph Regenvanu said the opinion marked a milestone for climate action. To sports news now. Rishabh Pant, who retired hurt on the opening day of the fourth test in Manchester, has suffered a fracture in his right toe, an injury that could take up to 2 months to heal. The BCCI later issued a statement confirming Pant will no longer perform wicket-keeping duties in the remainder of the test at Old Trafford, and he will be replaced by Dhruv Jurel for the same. Pant, however, remains available to bat as per the team's requirements. The India vice-captain was hit during the final session on day one when he scooped a blow to his right foot while attempting a reverse sweep of Chris Vokes. India's fourth test campaign at Old Trafford has hit a major roadblock as wicketkeeper batter Rishabh Pant has been diagnosed with a fractured toe. Though he braved the pain and decided to come out to bat on day two, veteran India pacer Ishant Sharma says Pant's absence could seriously dent India's balance. He spoke exclusively to DD India's Abhishek Mahajan on what this could mean for India's chances in England.
India cricketer Ishant Sharma is with us. Ishant, why pickleball and are you excited to be part of pickleball initiative?
Yes, it's a good sport actually. Upcoming sport. Legacy and the M3M Foundation has started a nice venture together to have this sport in India, and they are opening up very few courts in India, especially in Delhi NCR. So I think it's a great initiative to start off there.
Ishant, Rishabh Pant has been ruled out for 6 weeks. Big setback for India because other players are also not part of this test match because they are injured.
That part and parcel of the game. He didn't get injured while playing. It's an impact injury. So that shows that he is fit. I think the kind of individual he is, I'm sure he'll come back stronger.
And where do you see this series going? India 2-1 down, but are you happy with the way they have performed so far?
See, I just watched a little bit of this series. I haven't regularly following the series, so I don't really know what's been happening.
But you are the best person to tell us about the workload management. Bumrah is going to play 3 test matches in this series. Very important to manage the workload for any fast bowler?
I think Bumrah is the best judge. I think you and me or anyone who's sitting and talking, it's pretty easy for us to talk about Bumrah. I think if you put your body in Bumrah's body, then I think everybody should answer that question.
No, not only Bumrah. For any fast bowler, it is very important to get breaks in between.
Yes, if your body is not aligned, that's why he's saying that he needs break. Otherwise, no fast bowler wanted to take a break on a test match. Test match is something every cricketer wants to play.
And a word on Anshul Kamboj. It's a big opportunity for him that he has got a game, and that too in England.
Yes, I'm sure that he'll do well because he has a terrific record in first-class cricket. Everybody thinks that taking wickets in first class is pretty easy, but it's not. If you have a good first-class record, then you'll do well in international cricket.
Thank you, Ishant. Thank you for speaking with us. With Radhe Krishna, this is Abhishek Mahajan in Gurgaon for DD India.
And with that, it's a wrap. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.